Dr. Kosterman here at Kosterman Chiropractic Center in Cary. If you're watching this video, odds are you are suffering from headaches and probably pretty consistently. I don't know many people who haven't suffered from headaches, but there are people that suffer occasionally and there are people that have them all the time. People that have them so much so that it affects their daily life, their ability to focus and work, their ability to spend time with their loved one or their kids, their ability to enjoy recreation. Sometimes they're completely debilitating. We see a lot of patients with headaches in our office. It's one of those things that we're very comfortable taking care of, I guess is a good way to say it. But there's 3 pretty common headaches that people come in with. So my goal is to help you understand if you're having headaches and you don't know what type of headache you're having, maybe figure out what type of headache you're having from this video. But migraines, tension headaches, sinus headaches are very common, and then cluster headaches sometimes, which we'll talk about those too. But migraine headaches are, if you've had them, they're terrible. They can consume your life, they can consume your day, they can consume your week sometimes. Majority of individuals that experience these are females. It can be hormone related, it can be dietary related, stress related. Some of it can relate it to spine and nervous system. They're usually pretty painful. They're described as deep and throbbing headaches. And they can last 3 hours to 3 days. Oftentimes when you're experiencing migraine type headaches, you're very sensitive to light and or sound. So these individuals usually, if the medication doesn't help, they find themselves crawling into a dark room or a bed and just sleep it off. Because oftentimes a lot of things do not work for it. We have a lot of patients who get adjusted when they have migraine headaches. Sometimes it helps a lot, sometimes it helps a little. But migraine headaches are pretty common and they're tough to beat. Sometimes caffeine helps with it, and there are some certain prescription medications that help too as well. But we do have a lot of patients we see with migraine headaches. It can be difficult to manage them, but we'd like to make dietary recommendations for that, maybe a food diary. Let's see if anything's triggering it, do a food sensitivity test potentially. And break that pattern. But we're pretty good at managing migraine headaches. For some patients, it completely resolves those issues. Tension headaches. If you're watching this video, you're probably not in a good position or posture. And if you do it long enough, you're probably going to develop a tension type headache. I've had a tension type headache before. It feels like a vice grip right here on your temples. It feels like it's just squeezing your head together. It can feel like there's a band around your head when you have a tension type headache. We know that it's postural. Posture can be related, muscle tension, pressure on the nerves in your neck, right? We call it a cervicogenic headache. It's generated from the cervical spine. It comes from the neck. It's a fancy way of saying that. So a lot of us are at computers when we work. So when you work, you get really engaged in your work. Your head leans forward, it scoots forward, and what happens, right? For every inch your head moves forward, it doubles in weight. So it gets really heavy, 2-3 inches out in front. That's like putting a 30-pound dumbbell on your shoulders. That's a lot of pressure on your neck, the tissue in your neck, the nerves. So of course it's gonna cause a headache over time. Maybe not on that first day. We have a lot of patients that have come in that have been at a computer for 10, 15, sometimes 30 years. And they just have all this tension up here, and they have these chronic headaches just because their cup is completely full of water, if that makes sense. So just one little bit of stress fires off that headache. So you obviously want to address posture. You want to address the muscle tension, so we can add some custom therapeutic exercise plans to take home, and then addressing the spine to get the head back on the shoulders, right? We know for a fact that people with better posture live longer. That study was done by a group of medical doctors. There wasn't even a chiropractor in that study, and it found if your posture is in fact better, you live longer. So we want to address the posture aspect of that. it affects both men and women. So just remember, when you're sitting, keep yourself upright, good posture to limit those tension type headaches. We also have great results resolving the issues that stem from tension type headaches. The third type we're going to talk about today is a sinus type headache. They're the worst type of headache in my opinion. I've been fortunate enough not to suffer with migraine type headaches, but sinus headaches are terrible. It's just that pressure, that constant pressure in the front of your head or your cheeks or the bridge of your nose or sometimes around your eyes. It just feels like there's just pressure in there. It's all going to bust out. Now a true sinus headache is often, a sinus headache means you have some type of virus or, congestion, flu, cold, something that's pushing it. You have the mucus that's associated with it. And sometimes they can be mixed up with migraine type headaches. But if you're having a true sinus headache, then there's usually some type of mucus component that comes along with it. The worst thing to do when you have a sinus headache is bend over. And if those of you who know what I'm talking about can relate, when you're having that sinus headache and that pressure and you bend over, it just hurts. Sometimes it can make you even dizzy or unsteady. But relieving that pressure is one thing we're pretty good at, because a lot of the components or elements in the upper part of the cervical spine or the neck have to do with draining, sinus drainage. So if that's not draining properly, then the pressure can cause a headache from sinus headache. So we may not be able to help you with, it takes time to, defeat that virus or whatever's driving it, but we can help with the drainage and help relieve it. We have a lot of patients that come in and just kind of stripping things out, letting things flow, and adjusting them, getting their body healing helps tremendously with, migraine, tension, and or sinus type headaches. So hopefully you found this helpful. And if you ever have any needs that we can help you with, we would be honored to help. The important thing is to figure out what type of headache that's you're having, what's driving it, and then developing a good plan to get you well. So if you're having any trouble, we would be honored to help.